Gotta love it. Commander's log. Stardate 150704. It's Independence Day for the United States of America. At least on old Earth, that is. Just messing with you. How's everybody doing? I'm doing all right, as always. Folks, before I get to anywhere, to the unofficial sponsors, I got to give some love to a couple special ladies. The first one, well, actually, as you may or may not know, I've been pushing on the Prosper Facebook page to get to 300 likes, hopefully before my anniversary. And I did it before. Well, yeah, I did do it before my anniversary. I did it before July 1st, actually. But anyway, these two lovely ladies. There was a little bit of I don't know what you want to call it. A little bit of confusion between myself and Lieutenant Commander Love, Dr. Baker. But between BJ Bonsall Miller and Michelle Klimish, you lovely two ladies, you got me to 300 likes, all because of Lieutenant Commander Love, Dr. Baker. To you three, I give you the Prosper salute before I've even started drinking. In fact, let me just go ahead and replicate that drink now. This week's beverage of choice, prune juice. Warrior's drink. Cheers to you all. Kapla! As they'd say in the Klingon Empire. All right. Notice, it's an Indianapolis Colts glass. But hey, it is what it is. This week's entry, sponsored by the man that helped me get to 300 likes on the Prosper Facebook page. Beer Song of the Day. For those of you that don't know, this show is considered a spin-off of Beer and Song of the Day. Follow the same formats. Some things are the same, others are different. For those of you that are just now checking out Prosper, you'll see why. But hey, one of the things that are the same. Got to start it off with. Got to hit the birthdays up. From the 29th of June last month. No, it's not the Green Bay Packers player, but it's my friend Aaron Rodgers that I know here at Earth Station Okinawa. Aaron, what's up, brother? I hope you had a happy birthday. I hope things were good for you. I hope it was a logical decision, at least. Nah, I'm just kidding. I hope you celebrated like a Vulcan on Ponfar. My friend, I drink to you. We got to get together and sing some Garth Brooks sometime. All right, next on the list. These birthdays are actually going to go pretty quick. TJ Powell, your birthday was yesterday, my friend. I worked with you here at Earth Station Okinawa. How you doing, bud? How's life treating you in the 50th state? Hope things are going well for you. Hope you're getting settled in all right. Ooh. TJ, to you, my friend. Let's drink. All right, next up on the list. Jessica Blanton. Now, I probably should have done... Scratch that. Jessica, how are you doing? I hope your birthday was a good one. I hope things are going well for you. Hey, you know what? Have an adult beverage, if you can. Cheers to you. All right. Last two birthdays today. They're actually today. Last two birthdays for the week. The first one, Brooke Olson. Now, I have yet to meet you in person, but I know of you through our mutual friend, Josh Baker. You are a Star Wars nut. In fact, you and I were talking about Wookiees and phasers earlier, if I remember correctly. But, no, not today. That was a few days ago. My bad. I get my days confused sometimes. But hey, Brooke, come on over. Come on over to Starfleet. We could use every able-bodied person we could. The Prosper salute to you, my dear. And let us drink. And the final birthday for the week, the final birthday for the day. I worked with him in good old Germany. I'm talking about Nick Shadowins. Nick, my friend, how are you? How you doing? Haven't heard from you in a while. Is life treating you good? I hope so, man. I really hope so. Look forward to seeing you again. But hey, in the meantime, let's drink to you and your birthday. All right, birthdays. Finito. Let's move on to our additional love. Don't have many. The first one, the first lady, she actually helped me. She actually helped me with my Facebook profile picture. I'm talking about Jessica Driscoll. Now, I knew her back in the day as Jessica Webb. Jessica, what's up? How's it going? Hey, remember, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. You know what I'm talking about. That's right. Hey, Jessica, let's drink. All right. Now, this next gal, I mentioned her birthday last week, but hey, I had some good conversation with her today. I got to bring her back up. Mandy McKendry. Mandy, I hope you had a good birthday. I'm sure you did, but hey, remember this. 35 is the new 25. Don't let anybody tell you any different, all right? And hey, I'm the jerk that made you start it early. I can't help it. I'm in a different time zone. It was your birthday when I said it here, but it wasn't there. But please forgive me. It is what it is. We'll get past it. It happens. All right. Now, the next 5 greetings I'm going to extend are people that I usually celebrate today with. Whenever I'm home for this holiday, Mike Kirk, his brother Rick, Rick's kids, Gage and Sydnie, and my other niece, Kaitlin. How are you all doing? I hope you all are having an awesome holiday today. I know I am. Living it up. Hey, y'all, I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Won't get here soon enough. Hey, let's drink. Oh, crap. Hang on. Extra love extended. I am such a schlepper. I forgot to pull something up. I forgot to pull up last week's Trek poll. Shame on me. Hey, that just means you have to look at my ugly mug for a little bit longer. Right? Right. Yeah, it is what it is. You must like looking at it, otherwise you wouldn't be watching my show. There we go. All right. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. I apologize. There we go. There it is. All right. Here we go. Let me load it. But the results are in. Here we go. StarTrek.com, from their last weekly poll, asked what Starfleet crew position would be most interesting. The reply options included First Officer, Chief Medical Officer, Science Officer, Security Chief, and Chief Engineer. Nearly 9,000 fans voted, and out of that 9,000, 36% said First Officer. Right behind it with 32 said Science Officer. Then it dropped downhill. It went downhill from there. 16% said Chief Engineer, 9% said Security Chief, and a measly 6% said Chief Medical Officer. Hey, that was your poll for this week. Don't forget to that was your poll for last week. Don't forget to vote in this week's poll. All right, now we covered the Trek poll. Let's cover this week in Trek history. Only five things of significance happened. June 30th, 1938, Jerry Taylor was born. Now, who's that, you might be asking? She was the showrunner for The Next Generation in Season 7 and Star Trek Voyager through Season 2? 2 or 3. She was a showrunner for Star Trek for about around a 5-year time span. She turned 77. July 1st, 1942. Genevieve Bujold was born. Why am I bringing her up? She played Captain Nicole Janeway for one day. Then it was decided that, hey, episodic television and you don't really mix. I'm sorry we wasted your time. Here's some money. Hit the bricks. and she was replaced by Kate Mulgrew, who played Captain Catherine Janeway. Genevieve turned 73 on the 1st. Also born on the 1st. 1962. Dominique Keating was born. Now, who's that, you might be asking? Well, he is the English badass that played Malcolm Reed on Star Trek Enterprise. He turned 53 on the 1st. On the 2nd, 1927, Brock Peters was born. He played Admiral Cartwright in Star Trek 4 and 6. But in Star Trek 6, he conspired with about a handful of other people to assassinate the Chancellor of the Klingon High Council and attempt to assassinate the President of the United Federation of Planets in Star Trek 6. Also, later on, he played Captain Sisko's father, Joseph Sisko, in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 78. If he were still alive today, he would be 88. In the last event from Trek history this week, born July 5th, 1964, Ronald D. Moore. He was a writer for The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and the first 2 Star Trek movies to feature the Next Generation crew. How amazing is that? That's pretty cool. And that was the last entry for this week in Trek history. Let's move into the databanks. This week's episode, The Omega Glory. Now, there is a very specific reason I picked this episode this week. And I will hopefully, as I go through the notes, as I go through the background information, as we go behind the scenes, it will become apparent. If not, I'll spell it out. This was one of 3 draft stories considered for the second pilot of the series. First draft was June 7th, 1965. The other unchosen draft was Mudd's Women. Where No Man Has Gone Before was the script eventually selected. The Omega Glory filmed in middle and late December 1967. I'll bet you didn't know this was one of the scripts considered for the second pilot. Bet y'all didn't know that. Well, now you do. The original 1965 script named the missing starship as the USS Argentina. The USS Enterprise, the Enterprise landing party consisted of Kirk, Spock, a young navigator named Lieutenant Commander Piper, young, with the rank of Lieutenant Commander, holy crap, a helmsman named Lieutenant Philip Raintree, Phil Raintree, God, this stuff's not even spiked, I don't think, and the ship's doctor named Milton Perry. The latter two were killed during the actions on the surface. At the climax, Kirk fought Tracy in a Western-style gunfight, during which Tracy shot Spock twice. However, he survived because of the different anatomy of Vulcans, his heart not being in his chest. The first draft also featured a comic relief of the Enterprise computer having a female personality, an aspect which was eventually used in Tomorrow is Yesterday. In his novelization of the episode in Star Trek X, James Blish uses the Raintree character in place of Galloway. Does that mean he got killed? Probably. Spock attempting to telepathically suggest Sarah to pick up the communicator was reminiscent of the early concepts that Spock had special powers over women. He actually does. But he doesn't know it. You gotta love it. Roddenberry originally wanted to produce this episode early in the first season, along with Mudd's Women. But NBC thought the script was weak and ordered the staff to shelve it for an indefinite time to be possibly reworked and produced later on. Despite NBC still objecting against it, Roddenberry finally had his way to make the Omega Glory late in the second season. Husband and wife writing team Les and Tina Pine were assigned by Roddenberry to write a teleplay based on his previous outlines and scripts. However, their finished product was not up to the producer's standards, and Roddenberry decided to develop the project further himself. Go figure. A letter reprinted in Inside Star Trek: The Real Story reveals that Roddenberry personally submitted his teleplay for consideration for an Emmy Award. I'm sorry, there's better Star Trek out there. City on the Edge of Forever. Excuse me. Bob Justman wrote a long memo to Roddenberry in which he pointed out the flaws of the episode's script, but he thought it was too devastating and tore it up, and made a few suggestions orally instead. Roddenberry took the advice, but as anyone who has seen the episode knows, it didn't do much good. It's true. It's true. Another McCoy-Spock debate was filmed for this episode, but edited. Just before the landing party left the Yang's flag room, Kirk cut short an argument which seems to be about nothing. The reason McCoy and Spock were in an argument was cut from the episode. The dialogue excised from the final print was as follows, taken from the final draft shooting script for the episode. Jim, the parallel's too close. They seem so completely human. Is it possible that the result of Earth's early space race? Quite possible, Captain. They are aggressive enough to be human. Now listen, Spock, you... A fairly lengthy scene from the final shooting script was edited from the final print of the episode. Soon after the landing party arrived on Omega 4, Kirk directly confronted Tracy about the possibility of his having violated the Prime Directive, and Tracy attempted to defend his actions. Tracy also displayed open hostility towards Spock during the scene, revealing his dislike of Vulcans. James Blish does write up the scene in his adaptation of the episode in Star Trek X. While analyzing the crystals into which the Exeter's crew have dissolved, McCoy says that we are all not about 96% water. The actual figure is closer to 70%, kind of like Earth. According to author Daniel Leonard Bernardi, like the Federation, the Coms have full command of the English language, although they speak with a homogenized Asian accent. The beginning of the episode thus shows that those with white skin can be uncivilized savages, and those with yellow skin can be civilized and rational. This would be counter to the hegemonic, I think that's the word, hegemonic representation of Asians in the United States media. That diverse collective of peoples are consistently constructed in film and television as a menacing yellow horde. Bernardi goes on to say, the Omega Glory is not, however, a counter-hegemonic episode. In fact, the episode not only reveals an unwillingness to be critical of the hegemony of racist representations, but also systematically participates in the stereotyping of Asians. As the story progresses, the Yangs are constructed as noble savages. Their cause to annihilate the Coms is established as justified. The Coms, on the other hand, are constructed as brutal and oppressive. Their drive to suppress the Yangs is established as totalitarianism. This more hegemonic articulation of race is made evident when Kirk and Spock realize the extent to which the Yangs and Coms parallel Earth's civilizations. In this light, the Yangs are no longer savages, but noble warriors fighting for a just and honorable cause. They want to regain the land they lost in a war with the Asiatics, and I probably lost you about halfway through. If I did, I'm sorry. Let's get back on track. In this episode, the Enterprise visits another world possessing a parallel Earth culture. Other such examples include Miri and bread and circuses. There are also Earth cultures in A Piece of the Action, Patterns of Force, The Paradise Syndrome, and Plato's Stepchildren, but they were introduced deliberately or accidentally and did not originate organically. This is the second of 3 times the Enterprise encounters another Constitution-class starship, with the entire crew dead. The other 2 were in The Doomsday Machine and The Tholian Web. It is learned that the Exeter had a standard complement of 4 shuttlecraft. During the search for survivors, Galloway informed Kirk that all 4 of the craft were still on the hangar deck. Whether all Constitution-class vessels were equipped with that number of shuttles is not made clear. I would assume so, because it was not established that Galloway ever served on the Farragut? On the Exeter. They're both fan series, that's why I got them confused. Anyway, it was not established that Galloway ever served on the Exeter. As a result, that leads me to think that all Constitution class are equipped with 4 shuttles. This is the first time the chief medical officer of another Federation starship, Dr. Carter, is seen. Although he is sitting in the command chair on the bridge, it is unclear if he is in command of the Exeter or is merely recording his warning. Not until Dr. Crusher was placed in command of the Enterprise D in Descent Part 2 would a doctor clearly be in command of a starship. Dr. Crusher was technically in command in Remember Me when she was the only crew member left. However, since it wasn't the real Enterprise, it cannot be counted. I agree with that. This episode marks the first and only time in the original series that reference is made to phaser power packs. Roy Jensen's voice was electronically altered for this episode. The preview of the episode contains unaltered dialogue for Cloud William, which doesn't have the slowed down effect. Fred Steiner arranged the Star Spangled Banner motifs for this episode. Identical female screams are heard in this episode and in A Private Little War and the Gamesters of Triskelion. The shot of Sulu manning the helm station with an empty captain's chair in the background in mid-act 1 is recycled from Arena. One of the places on the Exeter seen empty during Kirk's intercom hail is engineering. Curiously, that's the location of the landing party. I actually remember the first time I saw this episode, I kind of scratched my head when I saw that. NBC announced that Star Trek would be renewed for a third season during the closing credits of this episode. On 1 March 1968, in the announcement, they also wrote, "Please do not send any more letters," responding to the vast amount of mail received during the protests organized by Roddenberry and Beau Trimble. Yeah, nice. Please don't send any more letters. I don't care about that. Send me all the mail you want. Alright, let's move on. James Doohan and Walter Koenig do not appear in this episode. Morgan Woodward, who played Captain Tracy of the USS Exeter, had previously played another wild-eyed madman, Simon Van Gelder, in Dagger of the Mind. Excuse me. Despite Galloway's demise in this episode, David L. Ross returned as Lieutenant Johnson in Day of the Dove, and as Galloway once more in Turnabout Intruder. No explanation was given for the resurrection. According to Ross in the unauthorized biography of William Shatner, Gene Roddenberry wanted him to appear regularly in the series, but Ross was not interested in that much acting. Ed McCready makes yet another appearance on Star Trek as the ill-fated Dr. Carter. McCready appeared numerous times in all 3 seasons of the show in short bit roles. Dr. Carter was originally going to be shown dissolving on camera. That would have been neat. The comb guarding Dr. McCoy can be seen in green coveralls in The Man Trap, both in the corridor and in the turbolift, and is one of the miners in The Devil in the Dark. He can also be seen extensively as a background character in many episodes of Kung Fu and Hawaii Five-0. It is not made clear that Sulu and the landing party must remain on the Omega-4 surface for a certain duration before they can safely return to the Enterprise. This was the first of 5 Star Trek projects to be adapted into Viewmaster reels, and a duplicate of one of the shots from the episode taking place at the communication station on the bridge. George Takei is taking advantage of the time for the Viewmaster shots to study his script. You can see it open on the console in front of him as he sits in Nichelle Nichols' chair, and she stands next to him, looking down at him. And the main reason I picked this episode this week was because near the end of the episode, if not at the very end of the episode, Captain Kirk is reading the preamble to the Constitution. Now, I understand it's Independence Day, but at the same time, Cloud William was performing a broken version of the not the Star Spangled Banner, but the Pledge of Allegiance. And the United States flag is also brought into the room. That is why I picked this episode, because it had strong ties to America. America! Gotta love it. Let's finish this. I'm gonna have to poop later. Devoid of life, as the brain cells, the average Sequest fan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to make like the Enterprise and warp out. Everybody take care. Have an awesome night or day. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and if you do, name it after me. Don't drink and drive because you might spill your drink. More importantly, you might kill yourself or somebody else. And drinking and driving is dumber than being a Sequest fan. And what's worse than that is rooting for cheating bastards like Tom. Giselle won't let me go to the Pro Bowl, and I can't throw the ball well enough with all that air in it. Brady, men slapping women, racism, animal abuse, fake friends, people who welch on bets, or anyone who is a member of, supports, or defends the Westboro Baptist Church, who tried to picket Leonard Nimoy's funeral but couldn't find it, or ISIS. Things like that are highly illogical, and I will not make time for them. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me on your computer screens, on your smartphones, on your TVs. Thank you for watching me on YouTube. And as always, live long and prosper.